With a screeching creak and clank, the docking claw opens, releasing the old freighter. Its engines kick in, and it moves away from the asteroid, far too slowly. The Gyan appears to be the most sluggish freighter in the entire sector. They're going to be a sitting duck out there. Once the signal reaches its maximum strength, Perkins reports that the automatons are launching. The only thing standing between them and the Gyan is you. Hey everyone, welcome back to Solo Party. My name is Kane, and we're back with Stars of Akarios, Scenario 11.3, Automaton Escape. Our objective is to protect the Gyan until it has left the board. So at the end of each round, the Gyan will move forward 2 hexes, pushing any ships from its final movement hex. It's going to start with 10 hull, and the enemies obviously will be able to target it. And the peanut, even though it is an asteroid, it will be counted as though it were a planet. So it is going to be blocking line of sight, and you're going to have to go around it. You cannot go through it. At the end of every even numbered round, we're going to be spawning an elite auto bomber on point 1 and an elite auto fighter on point 2. But if there are at least 6 enemy ships on the board, we will not have to spawn any new ships. And because we got the Man on the Inside achievement, we get to choose one auto bomber placed during setup, and that ship will now be considered a friendly unit and will target the enemy ships, and then the enemy ships will also be targeting it. So I've kind of separated a little bit from the pack. At the bottom right there, we've got the #1 auto bomber on our side. So that's the one at the top middle. And let's get started by rolling some die. So we're going to start this off with Mad Monk and use our movement die to make a basic move. And that sets us up perfectly for the boosted burst fire. So we can use our 2 attack die for a 3 damage attack on this auto fighter. And it will be at advantage. A -1 and a +2. A great use of advantage right there. So that's going to be 5 damage to auto fighter #5, which means we will break through that shield and deal 1 damage to the hull, leaving it at 9 hull. After that, we're going to use our new command tech upgrade with Gang to give Heart a basic move. That'll cost us 1 supply, going down to 3 with command, and Heart will take a basic move right here. Then Heart will use their own basic move, and we'll use a move die to rotate. And we unfortunately can't use any of our weapon upgrades, and we can't even boost our basic attack. But we will go ahead and do a 1 damage basic attack with our attack die. We were able to get right behind it, so we will be able to do this at advantage. And first we have, okay, a +1, not bad. And a -1. Okay, so that will be 2 damage to #5, taking it down to 7 hull. Next, we're going to have Gang move into the action. We'll use a move die for a basic move. And then we'll use 1 supply off of our barrel roll in order to get into this position right here. And now our next attack will apply slow. And we are going to use a supply of our proton blast. So that's going to be 2 targets, and both 4 and 5 are in the targeted area, so both of them will get hit by this attack, and both of them will get slow. They are unfortunately immune to the radar jam that Proton Blast normally applies. So let's start by drawing for 5, and these are not going to be at advantage, so we take what we get. Okay, so that's going to be 1 damage to 5, taking it down to 6 hull. And 1 damage to 4, taking 1 shield off of it, so it has 3 shield. And both of them also have slow. And I think we'll use this final wild die action for just a basic attack for 1 damage. Okay, with 0, that is going to be another 1 to 5, putting it at 5 hull. And that is all of Gang's die. Mad Monk still has a stress we could maybe use, and Heart has a move die, but let's go on over to Magician. Okay, with Magician, we're going to start by using one of our move die to use our bank action. So we'll go down to 2 supply and move into position. And again, our next attack would apply radar jam, but these auto fighters are immune, so that's not going to happen. But we are going to use 2 of our attack die to do a boosted long shot onto auto fighter #6. So we go down to 2 supply, and this is going to be a 3 damage attack. We are attacking from its flank, so it will be at advantage. And we will use our proximity exploit to go down to 2 supply and give us another +1 damage. So this is going at it for 4 and piercing and advantage. Start with a +1. That's great. So that's 5. And we get rid of our miss. So we do 5 damage piercing. So we ignore the shield and it goes to 5 hull just like that. And then because we drew the miss, we will be shuffling that all back into the deck. And we have a few straggling action die here and there, but I don't think there is anything we want to do with those. So we are going to end our turn here and go over to the enemy phase. So Auto Bomber 1 will activate first, but remember it's on our side. So it is going to target enemy ships. And this is our Auto Bomber action card. And now I was originally going to start targeting 1 and get closer to the ship that we're trying to protect, but the movement card that we drew actually doesn't help us out with that very much. So since 2 is also equidistant, we're actually going to target it and we get to start out with a rotate. So we're going to rotate towards number 2 and then we get to make a move, which puts us there, and then we make an attack, which obviously where there is nothing in range, it is just an attack straight ahead. So since we can't attack, we're going to move again. And now 6 is equidistant to 2. So we're going to make 6 our new target. And then we get to move again. And now 6 is in range for our attack. So now it's going to be attacked for 6 damage plus a modifier. And we draw a -1, but that's still 5 damage to 6. So that will get rid of its shield. And it will take 1 more damage to the hull, putting it at 4. And now the number 2 Auto Bomber is going to be trying to attack the Gyan. So it's going to start with a rotate. Then it will move. And it can't meet its target, so it'll move again. And it's still not going to be able to make its attack, so it ends its action there. And now we go check out the auto fighters. And the auto fighters have drawn this card. And starting with 1 at the very top there by the peanut asteroid, it's not going to be able to move straight forward through the asteroid, so it's going to need to rotate. And we're going to choose to rotate it to face 3. Then it's going to move straight, but it's not going to be able to move off the board or into the space with 3, so it's going to stop right before it. It's not able to make its attack against the target, so it's going to rotate again. And thankfully, it still can't hit the target, just barely. So now number 2 activates, and it is targeting our allied bomber. So we're going to start with a rotate, then a move. So remember, it can't stop where a ship is, and it does show that it would rotate at the end. So following the same rules as us, we rotate it in the direction it would be facing if it continued its movement. So then it's going to attempt that attack again, but because it had to rotate, it's not going to be able to hit us. So we're going to rotate again, and now it's able to make its attack. So it's being attacked for 3. Okay, +1 is 4, so that's going to be 4 to the shield, taking it down to 6 shield. Now we've got 4 and 5 here ready to activate, but remember, both of them are slow. So 4 is going to be able to rotate, but not move. So it will rotate towards its target, which is Heart here, but it cannot move, and it's not in range to make any attacks. So that is going to be it for 4, and then we'll remove the slow effect from it. And now 5 is also slow, but it is not going to matter as much. So its target is technically the one with the highest hull, which is going to be Mad Monk, so it will rotate. And it does actually get to target 2 enemies here. So our 2 highest hull are going to be Mad Monk and Gang. So both of them are going to be attacked for 3. We'll start with Mad Monk, who gets attacked for 4. So we lose 2 shield and go to 6 hull. But we'll go ahead and use 1 supply of our polarized armor, negating 1 damage. So we'll lose our shield, but go to 7 hull. And then Gang is attacked for also 4. So Gang loses 2 shield and then goes down to 6. Or sorry, then goes down to 5 hull. And now we're going to go back up top for our last elite auto fighter, number 6 here. It does not need to rotate. It is already facing its target, so it's going to move. So after the movement, we're not going to be able to hit with an attack, but once we rotate again, we certainly will be, and at advantage at that. So let's draw 2. We're looking for a miss and a -2. Oh man. Okay, so +2 and -1. So at advantage, that is going to be a 4 damage attack. Well, sorry, that is a 5 damage attack because it gets the +1 from the card. So that's going to take the shields down to 1. And lastly, we have our regular number 3 fighter. So it does not need to rotate. It is targeting the Gyan. It will make its move. It's unable to attack from that position, but once again, we get to do another rotate and then attack. So for a base of 3 and a -1, so that is going to be 2, and that takes the Gyan's hull down to 8. And then for the end of round 1, we will have the Gyan move forward 2 spaces. And with that, we're on to round 2. I think our rolls were a little bit better that time, even though we are going to be taking some stress. We need to remember at the end of this round, we will be spawning 2 more enemies unless we have 6 or more still on the board. So we started with 8. Well, 7 since the auto bomber is on our side. So if we defeat 2 or more ships this round, we will be spawning more. So it's kind of something for us to consider to maybe not defeat that many ships. All right, I've got a plan for numbers 4 and 5 down here, so let's see if I can execute. We're going to start with Gang and do a basic move, and then I'll use our Wild to rotate. I'm going to use 1 supply off of Target Lock to apply Target Lock to number 4. Now for the rest of the turn, any attacks against 4 will have advantage. Then I'll use 1 of our Stress to use our Interrupt Beam, going down to 2 supply, and 4 is in the target area for that. So our Stress goes up to 1, and we attack for 3 with advantage. And we will once again inflict slow. Okay, +1 and a +1. Okay, so that's going to be 4 damage to number 4. That will deplete its shield and deal 1 damage to the hull, putting it at 9 hull. Now we can go to Heart, and we're going to use a Burn and Flip. And we would be able to push 2 targets in range 1 if there were any, but there are not. We'll then use a Wild die on a basic move. And lastly, we'll use our Wild and Attack die on our EMP Blast. So that has 2 targets in range 2, which both 4 and 5 are. This also applies stun if we deal hull damage. So we really wanted to make sure we got through the shield on the number 4 auto fighter so we could attempt to stun it here and hopefully take both of them out and not have to worry about necessarily destroying them this round so we can ignore them and not then have to summon some new fighters at the end. So we'll start with 4. We have advantage. And all right, a +1 and a 0. So we do 2 damage to 4, and that will also stun it. So it goes down to 7 hull, and it has target lock, slow, and stun. And now we also attack 5, and since we're in its rear, this is also at advantage. Okay, we avoided the miss and got 0, which is still 1 damage to 5. So that does hit its hull, going down to 4 and a stun. So we've successfully taken both 4 and 5 out for any attacks at the end of the round. And now that they're confirmed stun, we're going to have Gang use their last stress die in order to make another basic move. So we go to 2 stress, and then we're just going to shoot forward 3 spaces. Now we'll have the Mad Monk use one of our wilds to make a basic move. And we'll go ahead and use 1 stress die and an attack die for a boosted basic attack. That puts Mad Monk at 1 stress. It still has target lock, so this is at advantage. Okay, and that's going to be 2 more damage to 4, putting it at 5 hull. We will then use our last stress die, going up to 2 stress, and use our spike pulse, going down to 2 supply with that. We get to target 2 targets in a range of 3 for 2 damage, so that'll be both 4 and 5. And we are in the rear of 5, and 4 has target lock, so both of these will be at advantage. Let's start with 4. Okay, +1 is another 3 damage to 4, taking it down to 2 hull. And now for 5. That is just going to be another 2, taking it also down to 2 hull. And now Magician has kind of been left in the dust, so we need to get them into a more advantageous position. Let's start with a move and another basic move. And now let's go ahead and use our 2 attack die for a boosted basic attack. And we'll be targeting 6. So right now that's 2 damage. Oh, -2. Okay, so we dealt no damage to 6 there. Let's go ahead and use 1 supply off of our propelled shot to target 6 again for another 2 damage. Oh, and a -1. Okay, so that's only 1 damage to 6. That takes its hull down to 3. And with that, it's on to the enemy phase, starting with our auto bomber. And so for the auto bombers, we've drawn this. Okay, they're targeting the furthest away. That's interesting. So, with a range of 6, the auto bombers are actually the furthest away from each other. So, they're going to exchange some shots here, starting with ours. So, the first thing we're going to do is attack. It's an attack at -1. So, this will be an attack for 4. Oh, and we missed. No. And now the enemy auto bomber returning fire. Of course, it gets the +1. All right, so it's attacking ours for 5. And that unfortunately is going to defeat our allied auto bomber that takes its last point of shield and then 4 hull down to 0. That is really not good for us because we were hoping the auto bomber would take some hits for magician. And just to be clear, after we attacked, we would have moved and backed up, as you can see here, but that still would have had us exactly 6 away. So it didn't matter where we were, we still got blasted and defeated. But that does mean this auto bomber is now going to back it up. And now we can move to the auto fighters. And now the auto fighters have drawn this card. All right, so let's start with one. We're going to start with a move. Then it attempts to attack its target, which was, sorry, it was the Gyan, and it's not going to be able to. So we're going to do a rotate. But it's already facing the direction it needs to, so we'll move again. And it still cannot make an attack. Then we'll go to 2, who is going to be targeting Magician. So we'll start with a move. And it does get stopped by 6, but it will still rotate in the way that it would be facing. Its attack does not hit, so it will do a rotate. And now it can make an attack. So it will be attacking Magician for 3. Okay, -1 is 2. That takes Magician shields down to 2. And then next, we would activate 4, but it is stunned and slow. So it is going to be sitting exactly where it's at. It doesn't even need to rotate. And then we'll remove its conditions. 5 as well is stunned, but it will still rotate, so it faces Mad Monk. Now 6 will go, and it's going to make its move. And it tries to attack, but does not succeed. Well, actually, I guess its target would actually be the Gyan, because it has more hull. So yeah, it still makes the same move, and is unable to attack the Gyan, so it will rotate, make another move, and still is not going to be able to hit its target. Lastly, we have the regular 3 auto fighter, and it starts with a move, and it's stopped by Peanut. It's unable to hit its target, which is the Gyan again, but it will rotate, and now be able to get an attack with advantage on the Gyan. So this is already going to be for +1, so 3 with advantage. And yeah, that's going to be another 4 to the Gyan. So we've got to be careful here. The Gyan is down to 4 hull. And that's the end of the round. So the Gyan is going to move 2 more spaces forward. And we still have all 7 enemy ships on the board, so we're not spawning any new ships, and we can go to round 3. Ouch. I really don't like that. I think we'll just take 1 stress with heart to reroll. Ouch. Same again. We'll take 1 stress, and that does put us at 3 with gang, so we will be shuffling a miss into our modifier deck. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out with Magician. We have a bunch of movement die and a stress, which is a real bummer, but I'm thinking we can still try to take out number 6 with our propelled shot. It only takes a supply, so we'll go down to 1 supply, and we can do 2 damage to 1 target in range 3, which is perfect for 6, and we're also in that rear arc, so it will be at advantage. All right, so we got the +1, which makes it 3. All right, no matter what, it has 3 hull left. So with that, we've taken out the number 6 auto fighter. After that, we'll go ahead and use a supply from our gravity push tech that we got from exploring the peanut as well. And we can choose unlimited targets in range 2 and push them 3. So that number 2 auto fighter is going to be pushed back 3 spaces. And hopefully that gives us enough clearance to avoid an attack from it on its turn. We at the very least don't want it to target the Gyan. That being said, we'll go ahead and use one of our movements for a basic move, and we'll use our last 3 for our basic repair. That'll give us back 2 shield going up to 4 and maxing out. We didn't have any stress, so we don't have to lose any there. But we'll also go ahead and get 2 charges back on our long shot. or sorry, one charge back on our long shot and one charge back on our propelled shot. Now we're going to go over to Mad Monk and we're going to use one of our attack die for a charge of Spike Pulse, leaving us with one remaining supply. And we get to target two targets in range 3, so both 4 and 5 are going to be targeted for an attack of 2. So if we can get 0 or higher, we'll actually be able to defeat both of them. So let's start with 4. Ouch. Okay, so that is actually going to do 0 damage, but we finally get to use our Resolve Pilot ability, so if our attack deals 0 damage, then we get to lose a stress. So we actually do just go down to 1 stress. And now we'll try for 5. And man, that is really a huge bummer. So 5 does go down to just 1 hull remaining. And the attack does also pull them in 1. So 4 will move closer to us. I'd really like to be able to take them out this turn. So I think we are going to gain some more stress here. And I'll use a wild to rotate. And then that will allow me to use one of my stress, taking me back up to 2 stress in order to use an unboosted burst fire for our last supply. And this will do 2 damage to 2 targets, so both 4 and 5. So we'll start with 4. And there we go. That defeats 4. And now 5. Awesome. There we go. This has been a huge turn for us so far. We were able to stall last turn so more newer, fresh fighters weren't spawned, and then we were able to take out the ones that we've been slowly weakening. So let's keep going, see what else we can do. And I guess I actually did have the continue here, so let's keep going and draw here. And okay, we drew into the time too, so that was even more than necessary. And now for Heart's turn, we have a bunch of movement and only one attack. And I think we're probably going to ignore the auto bomber for now because what we really want to try to do is get a one hit long shot with Magician to take it out since it only has 4 hull. So if we can get some advantage and some extra damage on it, we should be able to take it out in one hit. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and use one of our movements to rotate. Then we'll use one of our movement die on our beam repair so we can heal Gang's hull for 2, going up to 7. And then since we can get 2 targets, we'll go ahead and top off Mad Monk at 8. Then we'll use another basic move to move forward 3. And we can go ahead and use our attack for an unboosted basic attack on 1 since we will be able to get that at advantage. Okay, so just 1 damage takes its hull down to 3. Sorry, takes its shield down to 3. Now we'll have Gang use a move die to move forward 3. And we'll go ahead and use another charge on our Proton Blast to hit both 1 and 3. We're going to hit 1 with advantage. All right, so that times 2 means that's going to be 4 going to number 1, meaning we knock off its shield and take its hull to 9. And then we'll hit 3. This is not an advantage. Okay, we got our stress miss. And lastly, with Gang, we are going to use our stress die for our interrupt beam, so that goes down to 1 charge remaining. We go up to 4 stress, and we are going to use a supply from our targeting computer to add 1 target to this because we can now hit both 1 and 3 in the target area. So this is going to be another 3 damage going to each of them. 1, of course, is again still at advantage. Okay, so at least we got 2 -1s out of there. That's still 2 damage to 1, taking it down to 7. And to 3 is just going to be a flat 3. So that takes its shield down to 1. And I forgot with that last attack, the auto fighter, not only is it now slowed, it is not immune to radar jam like the elites are. So number 3 has both slow and radar jam, and now 1 has slow. And that will be the end of the pilot phase. Okay, for the enemy phase, we start with the 1 auto bomber remaining, and it has drawn this card. Okay, so right now its target is going to be Heart, and it's going to start with a rotate, but we are where we need to be, so it's going to try to make an attack. And the attack is actually not going to hit its target, but based on where it's at, it will still hit Gang. So this attack is going to go at Gang, and it's an attack for 6. Oh, +1. So an attack for 7 at Gang. Now that is a huge hit. So instead of taking that, we are going to go ahead and flip our barrel roll upgrade to damage it instead of taking that damage. Then after the attack, the auto bomber is just going to move. It would move 2 spaces forward, but it has to stop right behind Heart. Now our 3 remaining auto fighters will be activating with this card. So let's start with 1 for a rotate, going head to head with Gang here. Then it will make its attack, and its attack does have piercing. So we're being attacked for 2 with piercing. All right, lucky us. So that was only 1 damage pierced, so our hull goes down to 6. We at least didn't have any shield with Gang anyways, so piercing didn't really do a whole lot for it. Next we go to 2, and 2 is targeting Magician, and it will rotate once. Because then that will allow it to move into a successful position for an attack. It cannot attack here, so then it will go for a move and end up right on top of Magician. No need to rotate, and then we'll make another attack. So again, this is going to be 2 damage with piercing. Okay, another 1 damage with piercing. So that takes Magician's hull down to 4. And finally, the number 3 auto fighter will go, and its target is going to be Gang. So it's going to start with a rotate. It's not going to hit with its attack, so it will move. And its movement is actually going to stop it just short of Heart here. And it will actually now be attacking Heart for 2 with piercing. Okay, so just 2 with piercing, so Heart goes down to 2 hull. Well, actually, the auto fighter had number 3 had disadvantage and slow. So it actually didn't move, meaning it's not going to be able to make an attack, so disadvantage didn't even matter. And it will just end right there. And at the end of round 3, the Gyan will move 2 more spaces forward. And we're on to round 4. Okay, let's start things off with Gang, and we're going to go ahead and use our target lock on Auto Bomber 2. So it now has target lock, and attacks against it will have advantage. After that, we'll switch over to Magician, and we'll use our move die for a bank. Then we can use 1 supply on our maneuvering thrusters to move forward 3. And now we can make our boosted long shot attack for 3 damage with piercing against the auto bomber. So we go down to 2 supply again with that. Since we are at advantage, we'll go ahead and use a supply on our proximity exploit as well to give us +1 damage. So now we are attacking for 4 with advantage. We would have to get some really bad draws here to not be able to one shot. So let's see what we can do. And wouldn't you know it? Oh, with the miss and the double. So 8 damage with piercing obliterates the auto bomber. Next, we'll use our last attack die to rotate, and we'll spend 1 charge on our propelled shot against number 3. So this will be 2 damage. -1. Okay, so only 1 damage to 3, taking it down to 7 hull. Now let's go ahead and start to move Mad Monk forward. We'll use a movement action to go forward 3. And now we'll briefly switch back to Heart so we can use a movement die on Anayeli Ili, which is going to let us repair either 2 shield or 2 hull to infinity targets in range 3. And now all of us are in range 3, so we all get to heal up to 2 shield or hull. Heart will go to 4 hull. Mad Monk will get 2 shield. Magician will go to 5 hull. And Gang will get 2 shield. Next up with Heart, we're going to go ahead and use our stim packs to give us advantage on this next attack. And we're going to use our stress, going up to 2 stress, in order to use our hull blast. So we're going to target Auto Fighter 1, and this is only dealing 1 damage, but we have advantage. Okay, there we go. 2 damage to 1 is going to take it down to 5 hull, and now it also has hull breach, so it's going to start taking DOT at the end of the turn. Or I think it's at the start of its turn. Then we'll go ahead and use a basic move for a rotate, and another basic move to try to start getting out of there. It's possible that we could put enough distance where we can finish off these weaker ones, and the new ones that spawn might not be able to catch up to us. Now, with Gang, we're in a great position to attack 1, but we rolled a stress and 3 movement. So I think we're just going to try to make some space here, and we will go ahead and use a move to rotate, then do a basic move, and another basic move. And we'll probably just leave our stress alone. That just leaves Mad Monk, and we can go ahead and use a wild to move him forward. Then we'll use an attack die to rotate, and we'll just do an unboosted basic attack. So that's going to be 1 damage, times 2 is 2 damage. So that will take it down to 3 hull. And we're on to the enemy phase with just the 3 remaining auto fighters for now. And they've drawn this card. So we'll start with 1. It'll take 1 damage from hull breach. Going to 2 hull. It's targeting Mad Monk. So it'll start with a move. And then it will certainly be able to make its attack. So it's attacking for 3. Okay, so 3 to Mad Monk depletes the shields, and 1 hull damage takes it down to 7. Next is 2, and it's going to be targeting Magician. So we'll start with a move. And we are definitely not in range for the attack there, so we'll rotate and move again. And we still aren't able to make an attack. So last we have 3, who is also going to be targeting Magician, and no attack can be made. So now we're going to rotate, but we have a new target of Mad Monk. But after moving again, it's still unable to make an attack. So now we'll go to the end of the round. The Gyan is going to move 2 more spaces forward, and now we'll finally summon some extra units. And now we're on to round 5. As long as we survive the 6th round, the Gyan will be able to move off the board. And I don't think we want to be stuck with only attack action, so we are going to take a stress with Magician in order to reroll. Not how I wanted that to go, but I guess we'll take it. All right, first up we have Magician, and we're going for another kill shot on the Elite Auto Bomber. So we do have to use one of our stress for our movement for bank. So we do go up to 2 stress, and we're not going to need to rotate before or after. We just need to move into this position here. Then we can use our 2 attack die for our boosted long shot, and this will be 3 damage with piercing. So we don't have any extra help. We're really hoping that we do just draw a +1. And let's see. Okay, just a 0. So that is piercing, so 3 damage does take it down to 1. Then we're going to follow that up by using a gravity push. And every target in range 2 is going to be pushed 3. So that's just going to be these auto fighters over here, pushed up against the edge. Then we're going to use our last stress die for a basic move. That does put us at the 3 stress threshold, so we will be shuffling a miss into our modifier deck. And then we'll use the last supply of our maneuvering thrusters to move forward 3. Now we'll go to Mad Monk, and with Mad Monk, we rolled all movement die. So we are just going to be trying to make an escape here using 4 basic movements. We're not going to be using our stress die with heart, so let's just use the 2 die that we have for movement. And lastly, we have gang, so we'll start with a basic move. Then we'll use a supply from command to allow a magician to make another basic move. And after that, we're going to go ahead and use our 3 remaining die for a basic repair. That'll put us up to 7 hull, reduce our stress to 2, and we'll get some charges on our proton blast and interrupt beam back. And that's all for round 5, and we'll go on to the enemies. So we're starting with the auto bombers, and it's going to be targeting gang. So we're going to start with a rotate, and then a move. And it's not going to be able to hit anybody with that attack since it's attacking behind it. So now it's going to rotate again. So now it would rotate, but it doesn't need to. It's still facing the way it needs to go, and we'll do another move. And that puts gang just out of position for that attack. And that's all for the auto bombers. And yeah, I don't think one is going to have a chance of getting close, but let's see. Start with a rotate, and it really just continued to fly away. So now we go to 2. And even though gang was the target, when it rotates, it can now target magician. So it will be attacking magician. This is going to be for 2 damage and piercing. Ouch. 4 damage with piercing means we go down to 1 hull. Now the number 4 auto fighter will go. And that's the best it's going to be able to do. So now the regular number 3. And that's it for the enemy phase. And also the end of round 5. The Gyan moves forward 2 more spaces and reaches the edge of the board. 1 more round, and we will succeed in defending it. All right, it is once again time for Magician to do what Magician does. And we will use one of our moves in order to rotate. And we will use a single attack die for our long shot. This is going to be 2 damage with piercing onto the auto bomber. So as long as we don't get a -2 or a miss. And there you go. We defeated the elite auto bomber. And we'll end our turn with Magician. And I think we have mostly taken care of the threats that would make us fail this mission. So I'm not going to worry about using any of our stress results with Magician. With Mad Monk, we'll go ahead and use all those stress die we rolled for our basic repair. That'll get us our stress back down to 0. And we might as well go ahead and just use our basic move to scoot on up next to the Gyan. Now with Heart, we'll use a move die to rotate. And a wild die for a basic move. And now with Gang, let's go ahead and use our move die to just shoot ahead here, hopefully get out of range of some attacks, and use the rest of our die for a basic repair, getting our stress back down to 0 with them as well. And a bit of a boring final turn, but we did a really good job of spreading them out and getting them all away from the Gyan and even our own ships at this moment. So I don't really see anything stopping us at the end of this turn. But let's go ahead and draw the Auto Fighter card. And this is the card we drew for the Auto Fighters. Auto Fighter 1 was unable to do anything significant, but 2 is going to be able to get a shot off on Magician. It's going to be for 3 damage. Okay, 3 to Magician takes the shields down to 1. And then it will move. The last of the Auto Fighters were unable to make significant progress, meaning at the end of the round, Gyan will move off of the board, and we succeed at the mission. At long last, the Gyan moves out of the last automaton's range. It's now ready to continue its journey of scientific discovery, albeit rather slowly. Once the fighters dock with the Gyan, Amy greets the group positively. "Oh, this is incredible! I'm so glad we can finally be on our way. Well, most of us." A door opens, and a tall alien with teal skin and tattoos on their head and arms steps onto the bridge. "This is Jyoti. Their cryobay developed a fault during the commotion and were revived." Jyoti takes over. "I've been awake long enough to observe the battle. I joined this ship for research, but watching now, my goals have changed. I want to fight. Please, may I join your crew?" Captain Soma has been vocal about needing more crew. Jyoti is welcomed with open arms. Amy bids everyone farewell. "Good luck and thank you, Akarios Institute. Goodbye, Jyoti. Don't forget to look us up if you ever make it to the abyss." Sad crying emoji. A short while later, the Gyan recede into the distance. Captain Soma watches it go from the Sparrow's bridge. "Something on your mind, Captain?" Sol asks. Looking at them, head off into deep space, she points to the Gyan. "It makes you realize how many of us are in this galaxy. All different, all on their own unique journey. I'm glad we helped them," says Sol. "Makes me a little more hopeful that people might help us." Soma nods her head slowly. "Me too, Sol. Me too." Our reward is to go to scenario 11.5, and we get the new pilot Jyoti, and the Sparrow also will gain 1 supply. And scenario 11.5, enter the drones. 2 days later, you're summoned to Grease's workshop. It's a messy, sprawling area to one side of the hangar bay, covered in random bits of machinery and blueprints. As she notices your group approaching, Grease turns to wave. "Ah, just the pilots I wanted to see, and have I got something to show you?" She stands to one side and dramatically reveals a set of 6 blueprints hanging from the wall. Each appears to show some sort of robotic system that connects to a fighter. "I salvaged a bunch of those wrecked automatons and some of the key components from that old-looking freighter that was docked there. I've been pulling them apart to figure out how they tick. The freighter appears to have come from the Fiersten system, which, if my memory serves me right, is rumored to be on the opposite side of the galaxy. I have no idea what it could have been doing all the way out here, though. It may not have utilized amazing computerization or advanced AI. Still, it seems like they know what they're doing when it comes to mechanization. With a bit of hard work and, dare I say it, inspired engineering, I've combined Fiersten mechanics with the automaton tech from the asteroid and created these. Automated drones, or auto drones if you prefer, or just drones. I don't know. I'm awful at naming things. And for our reward, we now have these 6 drones that come in the Drones of Akarios expansion that we can include in our main campaign. And with that, we have completed the mini campaign in the Drones of Akarios expansion for Stars of Akarios. If you're interested in the drone mechanics, definitely let me know in the comments that you want to see me continue on to the main campaign with the drones. But for now, this has been Solo Party. My name is Kane. Thanks for watching.